Hi, my name is Mark Kravchik. It is now 7:51 p.m. 20 years ago when I first wrote this piece, I said something like, "Let's begin in my mind." Place that used to be so tightly wound around hopes and delusions of grandeur, I would have trouble sleeping without stirring. It's a landscape of dreams and unrealities. But today I'll say, let's start somewhere else. Oh, we'll start in my mind. But it's a different mind than when it was when I was 23. I'm 43 years old. Well, 43 years, 6 months, 18 days, 6 hours, and 26 minutes if we're being exact. We'll begin in my mind, but with some text messages I sent yesterday at 4:17 p.m. I'm going in and out of panic attacks today. Everything has just caught up to me. Losing a job of 5 years, the play in DC, the travel, the musical, having combat with so-and-so, the barking legs piece, Lyft driving, some asshole yelling at me that I'm his Lyft driver when I'm not, knowing I have to reconceive a role in a show I'm directing, other stuff. And then seeing that last night, I just felt something. It was like the only image that came to mind was a branch falling off a dam built by beavers. But everything has just been rushing through me today. I'm not hysterical or anything, just lightheaded, at times panicked, deeply panicked, but for no reason, telling myself to breathe. These all deserve explanations. And these all tell you who and what I am in one way or another. However, text messages are for shorthanded communications. And theater is communication for the long-winded and pretentious. I should know I'm rather long-winded and pretentious as all fuck. Can't you tell already? Let's begin again at the beginning. Text number 1. The beginning in this case is no longer my mind, but instead a time, a place, Boston, Massachusetts, April 2018. Forgive me for the lack of details, but I only remember it was late April. I received a phone call from a Dr. Autumn Graves offering me a job and a new life teaching theater at a girls' school in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Throughout the interview process, all my friends ask, "What's it called?" I answer, "Girls' Preparatory School." And they all respond the same way. "Yeah, but which one?" I say, "That is the name." And all my friends respond the exact same way. They trademarked that shit? I can't decide if that's really cool or really lame. Good luck in the South. Now, at this point, Chattanooga was still a little more to me than a place name on a placemat, which was on the tabletop in some greasy spoon diner or restaurant outside of Nashville on my way to Texas when I was in grad school in August 2003. I looked up at the waiter and said, "Do you know what Chattanooga's like?" And he responded, "Oh, you don't want to go there. Chattanooga's a shithole." And in April 2018, I am standing on a street corner outside of Boston Conservatory at Berkeley, and I agreed to make that shithole my home. I was, and no longer am, the director of theater at a certain preparatory school. The going story is that my position was dissolved, and that was due to budget cuts, due to lower enrollment, or due to creating new efficiencies. You know, like a studio apartment. There are rumors and innuendo about other nefarious reasons, like something to do with, quote, the new culture wars, unquote, which is really rather a drag, because the new culture wars are just like the old culture wars, so there's no novelty to this story. Still, it's a story that eventually lands in the New York Times and subsequently plagues every job interview I've had for nearly the last 10 months, and people routinely ask, aren't you still angry? Aren't you still upset? Aren't you just so fucking pissed off? I'll spare you, my audience, the details of the story, the true story, because the true story is irrelevant tonight. Because all I can think about when I think about my now former job is about all the routines I lost and the rituals broken. The morning coffee that tasted mildly burnt. The hiding in the catwalks of the theater to avoid my colleagues. The time that passes before your eyes as you watch a child literally grow before them and wonder, how many times has she changed her hair color? All my rituals, all gone, dissolved, like I'm told my position is, into the ether, and so is who I was. And my daily ritual now is asking, who am I now that I am not what I was? Am I still a director of theater? Or am I now that bald Lyft driver? This is the point in the piece when I should tell you what we're about to do. Sometimes I like to think of myself moving out of all this with the powers of 10. Do you know what the powers of 10 is? Or was? It's a short film where it drifts out into the cosmos. The picnic near the lakeside in Chicago is the start of a lazy afternoon early one October. We begin with a scene 1 meter wide, which we're viewing from just 1 meter away. Now every 10 seconds we will look from 10 times farther away, and our field of view will be 10 times wider. So goes the narration of the film. I earnestly drift out from my mind. You know, the place I said that used to be so tightly wound around hopes and delusions of grandeur, I would have trouble sleeping without stirring. Well, we drift. Beyond the intangible landscapes of my psyche, where rest the thoughts behind text number 2, the play in DC. Remember, we're still talking about the text messages and my mind. The aforementioned play was The Caretaker by Harold Pinter. I played a man named Aston. The play itself is actually rehearsing in Delray, a neighborhood of Alexandria, Virginia, performed in Bethesda, Maryland, and I'm staying in Arlington, Virginia with 2 friends. DC is never formally used as a basis for performance or rehearsal, but DC is used as a point of reference because, really, who the hell knows where Bethesda, Maryland really is? I've been to Bethesda, Maryland for 16 performances of The Caretaker, 16 performances in which I have a 10-minute monologue about receiving electroshock therapy, and I was there for all of it in Bethesda, Maryland, and I still couldn't tell you where the hell it is. But I can tell you that's where the 12 broken Buddhas came from. Every night, one was smashed on stage. And I can now tell you they're here to provide a shape, a form, a ritualized space I am using to hold myself together. Just like I can tell you we're going past the electrical firing synapses of my brain and nervous system. And we're going to drift out into space by the powers of 10. I can feel myself on the outside looking in, going up like a spirit, beyond the regions of my skull. I peel back each bloody, sponge-like membranous layer of crust encapsulating my head, and I am set free to look at myself. At this close depth, the natural blots and blemishes on my epidermis create a landscape of intense hideousness. It is now 8:01 p.m. I pull my eyes back further, even so I can see my whole face. The blots and blemishes are not so noticeable. In fact, I could say I'm rather handsome, in an ugly sort of way. The view is pulled back further yet again. Now I see myself in the frame of my bed, lying still as a cat in slumber, purring away with my occasionally rupturing snores. The room around me is slowly revealed as my spirit floats up from the living corpse, jumping through burning dreams of fire agnates beneath me. The room is neatly fashioned. Bare yellow walls form the outside frame, and the painting within is, well, decide for yourself. Soft yellow walls with white molding accents, a recessed ceiling, a framed picture of Tennessee made of purple irises, a shelf freshly undusted with a framed drawing of my dog, Jolene, and filled with unread books, except for a bookcase on another wall with a copy of Italo Calvino's If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, heavily marked up with my embarrassing notes from when I was 22, and wrote the original version of the piece you are watching right now. The chaos of this vision becomes a twisting picture losing frame and leaves my view as I pull back even further. Now, the changes will become drastic as I can see my whole house, which makes up some of the aforementioned vague stuff from text number 12, which I mentioned earlier. Remember those? I pulled past some of the other texts. We'll leave that stuff unexplained as stuff, and you can use your imagination, just like we do in the theater. And like we do as we pull above my house, it frames my indoor life, an 1,800 square foot shelter that holds my life, my wife Caitlin, our dogs Jolene and Freddie Mercury and Foster Lulu, black trousers, black sneakers, an oven mitt slightly melted from holding on to an oven grate for too long, the microwave, a PlayStation 5, my full bladder within my sleeping body, a canvas sack. My sorry attempt at building a home recording studio, that picture of my pet Jolene that I mentioned earlier, and my oft-forgotten and rarely regarded personally autographed copy of a gray George Foreman lean, mean, fat-reducing grilling machine with bun warmer. It is now 8:03 p.m. The journey upward has only taken a few minutes, so I am not too exhausted, although maybe you are by the pretentiousness. I force myself up to the heavens faster now, so I can see my entire street. My house is one of many houses. Emily and Corey's house, Scott and Amanda's, although I think her name is actually Ashley. That place 3 houses down with the lady we've all been told to avoid, or she will call the cops on us for anything, and I mean anything. The yard's detritus we all throw away at the end of our cul-de-sac. My Honda CRV, my wife's Honda Fit, the unseen boundary line between Tennessee and Georgia, and the dividing line between what's normal and what's very, very weird. All simply part of the city-suburban landscape that surrounds my house and engulfs the Tennessee and Georgia countryside. With more force, I tear myself up to the heavens at a breakneck pace, the pace of my life. My street disappears and becomes part of an atlas-like picture of sharp-angled lines that skew into each other. Within the following moments, these lines disappear within the ever-changing frames of cities to states, states to the outline of the United States of America, the outline of the United States of America to the continents of North and South America. The Americas become a landscape on the planet Earth, wading their shores in the blue, blue ocean. It never looks blue up close. The Earth pulls back. Each time I blink, it looks as if the Earth has been pulled back by another power of 10. I pass Mars, blink. Saturn, blink. Jupiter, blink. Uranus, blink. Neptune, blink. And the ice ball Pluto, at which I stare. I go through the burning fire of a globular star cluster right at the borders of the Milky Way, and I burn into the great nothingness like a comet, set adrift like so much stardust. It is now 8:05 p.m. You are in the silence of my personal void. Welcome. This is where the echoes of nothingness linger, and I can find the newly empty canvas of myself. In a sacred space of solitude, a profane place of selfishness, the blankness within and without, a cosmic palette of possibility, contours of hope, rock-hard abs of self-delusion, a strong core to believe that. A strong core to believe that living shouldn't be such a fucking chore to the soul. And this is where I'll leave you, with unresolved questions, unhad answers, nothing to grasp from this rhapsodic interloper. I will deconstruct this ritual. We will never have it again. But you will redraw in your memory again and again, trying to see the picture clearly for the first time. Again, saving yourself in this moment by saving your memory, even though it's lost in space.